Hello and welcome. Now in this video we're going to build a form so that we can fill out the blog title, blog body, and then we can send that to the controller, and controller will save to the database. Okay, so what we're trying to do is something like this: blog/create. Maybe we'll go to that route, right? Blog/create, and there will be a form. We will fill out the form. The data will be processed in the controller, saved in the database. Okay, so let's do that. The first thing we want to do is obviously go to web.php and create a route, right? So let's copy this one. Okay, so it will be a get request for create page. Okay, and then blogs controller, and we will have a method called create. Okay, blog/create, sorry, create. Okay, so we go to the blog/create, and this controller will handle the request. Okay, so let's work on this one. Go to controller and create this method, public function create, and it will simply return, let's return a view. So it will be blog/create. So inside this blogs folder we will create this create.blade.php file, right? Simple. Okay, let's go to blogs. We have index. Now let's create this create.blade.php. Let's save. Okay, create.blade.php. all right, so what I can do is I can simply copy this one, so just don't need to write this over and over again. Extends to the layouts.app, and we yield the content here in this section. Okay, so let's begin with a bit of a Bootstrap style form. Okay, so let's create a div with the class name of container fluid. Okay, now inside this div let's create a jumbotron. Okay, now in here we'll have h1 that will say create a new blog. Okay, so the heading will be in the jumbotron, and then we'll have another div. Now this one, let's make it a 12 column grid, column md12. Okay, now inside this column we're gonna create a form. Okay, so let's create a form with the class name of we don't need a class name for form. Okay, let's just do that. Action, we'll come back to it. Okay, action method. Okay, so the method will be post method, right? We'll post this form data. Okay, now inside this form I will have a div with the class name of form group. Now inside here we have a label for title. Okay, title, and then we'll have input type will be text, and then name. This is super important. Okay, so the name, when you submit the form data will be carried and passed down to this action route. Okay, so the name of the input field, for example in this case it's the title, and remember we have in our database the blog table has the title and body field. Okay, so whatever is passed down here as the name, the title, it will be make sure you have this name that matches the database table field. Okay, so that's important. So the title name is the title, and then let's give it a class name as well. So form control. Okay, so let's copy this div for body. Okay, change this to body, and then this will be a text area. Okay, and let's close this text area. Okay, that's done. Okay, so the type, we don't need type for this one. Now the name is body, that's important. So all these namings are important, right? To submit. So button, class name will be button, button primary, let's give it primary, and then let's give it a name. We can call it create new blog. Okay, now type, let's give it a type submit. Awesome. Okay, so we have this form. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so let's go here, refresh, blog / create. Awesome, we have the create form. Beautiful. Now whenever we write title and body and we submit, this should be available in the action route which we haven't defined. So let's create one. Let's create another controller that will handle the submit. Okay, so let's copy this. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is change this to post, because this will be the post request. Okay, so blogs / store. Okay, let's name it store. Control method store will be responsible for storing whatever is passed down from the create page. It will be responsible to store. Okay, so with the post method, blog / store, and then we create this method in the blog controller. Okay, let's go there, and then let's create this. Public function store. Okay, now what we want to do here is we need access to the HTTP request. Okay, so I have this link here open here. So I just went to Laravel documentation and typed request. Okay, so to obtain an instance of the current HTTP request via dependency injection, you should type hint this class, request class, which is inside eliminate HTTP. Okay, so to obtain an instance of the current HTTP request, we need to type in this request class in our controller method. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. I had previously commented this out. Maybe you didn't have to do this, because my editor just automatically removes this one if it is not used here. So that's why I did that. Okay, so we have this HTTP request, which is exactly here as said in Laravel documentation. So we need to type in this one. All right, so what we can do is we can use this class request, and then we can type in request. Okay, so what this will do is this will give us the access. We can obtain the instance of the HTTP request. Okay, so once we get that, what I would like to do is I would like to see what it contains. Okay, so I can do die and dump request. Okay, so whenever user submit this form, okay, whenever you submit this form, all this information will be passed down to this action. Okay, action route, which I will create next, and then that action route, in our case, that will be blogs.store. So everything that is submitted will be available in this method as the HTTP request, and we will have a look at this first. Okay, so what is left is we need to supply the action. Right now, the reason I was waiting for this one is because there is a very easier way to do that. So that is called named routes. Okay, named routes in Laravel. So what you can do, name. Okay, use this method, and then you give it a name. So what name you want to give to this one? So let's give it blogs.store. Okay, so this makes it really easy for us even later down the road, because every time we can reference to blogs.store. Okay, so later, even if we decide, for example, this route will not be handled by store. Maybe you will implement another functionality, another method will handle, or whatever. You can change it, but still the URL will remain the same. Instead of changing all these references throughout your application, you always keep the same name, but you just change the controller. So what I can do is I can simply take this named route and here create. What I can do is I can, within these curly braces, I can say route and then paste that in. So when this form will be submitted, it will be submitted to this route, blocks.store. Okay, so blocks.store means this one. Okay, so we just named it, we gave it a name for our convenience. Okay, now let's go and give it a try. Refresh, let's say something, create. Okay, you get this one. That's because we're not using the Laravel, what do you call the Laravel collective. So if we were using this package, this would handle this cross-site request forgery. Okay, so we're not using this one. If you are using this, you don't have to worry about the step that I'm going to cover next. But since we are using the plain HTML form, okay, what we need to do is we need to pass down the this thing called Csrf. So Laravel, what it does is it protects us from cross-site request forgery. Okay, so what this does is this will let us this will secure our forms, so it is well protected. Okay, so without this one you get to see that error, but once you have this one, it should be good. Okay, let's give it a try. Let's go back, refresh, create, and as you can see, it works. So this can be kind of frustrating sometimes because you don't know what is going on. So whenever you're using this plain HTML form, make sure to have this Csrf field right before the end of the form. Okay, so that's important. So all this we get to see because we dumped the request object. Okay, so whatever is submitted, it's all available here. So we, as you can see, it has lots of properties. Now let's try to see if we have the title, request title. Let's go back, refresh, do it again. Okay, as you can see, the title is available, and same as title, we get to access the body as well. Okay, so the point here is we get everything is submitted from the form. We have it available thanks to this request class provided by Laravel. Okay, so now as you can see, we can easily use this request objects, all the information available on this request, to create a new blog and save to the database, right? It's going to be very easy, and we're going to do that in the next video. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.